Hello, my name is Vincent, and today I will be explaining my reasoning behind the solutions I arrived while performing these various critical thinking exercises. First up, we have a finish the drawing exercise. As you can see here, I drew a picture that resembles a pitcher or a jug. My reasoning behind why I chose this particular shape is because the shape that is provided closely resembles the mouth of a pitcher, jug, or carafe. And that is immediately what my mind thought of. Why? I'm not sure. Maybe I was thirsty or something. Speaking of which, I should probably drink some water. Next, I was tasked with dividing this asymmetric figure into 4 equal shapes. As you can see, that is what I have done. How I did this was very simple. First, I took measurements of each side, and then I placed 4 dots strategically in the middle of certain sides of the figure. Here, 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 and here. Next, I drew this first shape. Which resembles the larger shape, only smaller. Once that was complete, I simply subdivided the remaining portion of the figure into 3 more identical shapes, like so. Next up is the candle problem. I need to figure out how to attach a candle to the wall in such a way so that when I light the candle, the wax does not drip onto the table. As you can see, as I have crudely diagrammed, here is my solution. Allow me to explain how I reached this solution. First, I empty the box of thumbtacks out onto the table. And then I take one thumbtack and attach it to the wall through the inside of the box so that the box is at a 90-degree angle from the wall. Third, I take a second thumbtack and push it up through the box from the bottom so that the point is sticking up through the box. Lastly, I affix the candlestick to the exposed thumbtack point. This allows the candle to stand freely in the center of the box without falling over. I then light the candle. As the candle burns, hot wax is instead collected in the box, which acts like a wall sconce, instead of dripping onto the table. Finally, there is the case of the lead masks. This one was the most challenging of the group of exercises, but I am confident in the solution that I arrived at. When all present evidence is considered, I believe that Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Jose Miguel Viana died from an electromagnetic experiment gone awry. Here is how I arrived at that conclusion. Due to the lack of signs of a violent altercation, along with no signs of pre-mortem or post-mortem injuries, I can reasonably rule out murder with a potential robbery motive. This is further supported by the report from the pathologist, who checked for any physical signs of hypodermic injection and found none. To expand on this further, I can reasonably doubt the robbery angle based on the fact that there are too many questions. Sure, neither victim had cash on them, but that is no justification to suspect robbery. They came to Rio de Janeiro from Campos de Coyotecazes to buy supplies for their work, as it was reported. Unanswered question number 1. How much did the supplies cost? Unanswered question number 2. How much money did the men originally start with? We know they started with enough money to purchase their supplies and buy a car, but they boarded a bus to Rio instead of buying a car. Unanswered question number 3. How much was the bus fare, the supplies, the bottle of water, the raincoat, the protect medal, etc.? It is possible that they used up all their money and did not have enough to buy the car afterwards, so they went straight to the meeting spot at Vitem Hill. There is the potential suicide pact theory, but I can reasonably rule this out too, as there simply is not enough evidence. There is the mysterious capsule that both men took, which implies they took cyanide, and symptoms of cyanide poisoning do resemble that of their cause of death, which was sudden cardiac arrest with no discernible cause. However, due to the coroner's inability to perform a timely autopsy, because of this heavy workload, the internal organs of the victims were removed, but they were stored improperly and severely decomposed as a result, rendering any possible toxicology examination useless, as the results would have been unreliable. Could it have been aliens? Well, maybe, but highly illogical. While Vitem Hill is purportedly infamous for a large number of UFO sightings, with various local inhabitants reporting a UFO sighting on the day the 2 men died, all of which have the same exact description. No description of the alleged UFO is provided, so these claims are easily discredited and written off as hearsay, which rules out the murdered by alien theories along with going to meet aliens theory. This leads back to my original hypothesis and is most likely what happened. The 2 men DaCosta and Viana likely died during an electromagnetic experiment gone awry. How did I reach this conclusion? Well, first I looked at their professional backgrounds. Both men are electronic technicians. Secondly, I considered the supplies that were purchased for work. The raincoats, water bottle, oral capsule that both men swallowed, the metals, possibly used as protective lining for the inside of the raincoats. Then, the most crucial piece of evidence is the lead masks, which were implied to have been made by Viana himself, as the plates that they were both cut from were recovered from his shop. Given the facts that lead is a common material used for protective gear when working in a radioactive environment, and their background in electronics, they were likely conducting some sort of electromagnetic radiation experiment. The line from Viana's notebook about protect metals could refer to a protective metal sheeting from the inside of the raincoat, but could also mean to protect metal objects, such as a pacemaker. This assumption, however, is unlikely. Electromagnetic radiation such as X-rays, microwaves, gamma rays, and radio waves can interfere and even cause pacemakers to fail, leading to sudden cardiac arrest with no apparent cause. While the first successful implantation of a pacemaker occurred in 1960, there is no mention of either man having a pacemaker, and both seem to have been in good health prior to their deaths. As for the capsule, it was likely potassium iodide, a chemical compound that is designed to protect internal organs, primarily the thyroid gland, from the effects of radiation. What leads me to believe that they died in an experiment that went wrong is the implied homemade nature of their protective equipment, which suggests that the gear they made was imperfect and thus provided no adequate protection for the adverse effects of radiation. And if the radiation was electromagnetic, as I suspect it was, that can very well likely be the explanation for their official cause of death.